Hello, and welcome to Community Voices, where we talk to Humboldt County's movers and shakers. Today's guest, Stephen Kullman, Demand Side Management Director for Redwood Coast Energy Authority. And now here's your host, Paul Bressoud.
Hello and welcome to Access Humboldt's Community Voices. I'm your host, Paul Bressoud. Today we have Stephen Kullman. He is the Demand Side Management Director from the Redwood Coast Energy Authority. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Right on. I always start out by asking our guests, what is their job? What does it mean to be the Demand Side Management Director?
Yeah, I know. It's a little bit of a confusing title, and I often find myself having to try and explain it to my mom or something like, what's this actually mean? And really, Demand Side Management means all the customer-facing programs. And so our organization, Redwood Coast Energy Authority, you can think of it divided into the part that buys the electricity for Humboldt County, and then the part that helps all the customers manage their energy use. And so that's what we do. We help customers manage their energy use. That's customers of all sizes, all types, and in different ways.
Well, let's go into that, because I find that fascinating when I looked at the organization, is the span, the width of when you say customers. Who are the customers?
Well, our customers are most of Humboldt County, most of the electric users in Humboldt County. Like I mentioned, RCEA purchases the electricity. It's still delivered to your house through PG&E, but we work on purchasing a greener mix at a less expensive cost and keeping your energy dollars local. And I like to think of myself then as the person who gets to spend some of those energy dollars in the form of giving rebates back to customers for energy efficient appliances. We have a whole number of rebates going on right now that you can find out on our website, to more complex projects where we're helping jurisdictions and cities and schools, volunteer fire departments put solar and storage. We've worked with a number of agencies where we've helped them keep their power on during some of these earthquakes and other storms that we've had recently. And so we do a lot in the community to try and help the community manage your energy dollars. We like to think of ourselves as Humboldt's energy experts.
Well, let's talk about the jurisdictions first, the cities, and then work our way down to regular folks that can purchase or get these rebates. How do you go ahead and connect with a city as a customer?
Well, our organization is what's called a Joint Powers Agency, and so it was formed 20 years ago. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year as a Joint Powers Agency, which meant that the county and the various cities and jurisdictions, the incorporated cities, came together and formed RCEA to be the energy division for all of them. So we started out really working with these agencies, working with everything from City of Fortuna to City of Arcata, Trinidad, Blue Lake, in order to help them manage their energy use and become more energy efficient. And so
quick, does it have to be an incorporated city? Do you also work with unincorporated county areas?
We do, very much so. Well, we work with the county as one of the member agencies, but we work with those who aren't our member agencies as well. And one thing I'd like to add, we're very excited. Just recently, the Yurok tribe joined our board as well. And so it's actually the first time a tribe, I think, has been part of a Joint Powers Agency in the state of California, at least part of community choice aggregator like we are, and working on with some of the other local tribes, seeing if there's interest to join. So we really have a broad breadth of who we will work with. And what we do, what we really try and do is uncomplicate things for people. And so we work with a number of different funding streams. I have contracts through the California Public Utilities Commissions, California Energy Commission, PG&E, money that we have just from our own ratepayers. And we take all that and we find what works best for the customer and how we can deliver services to the customer, deliver rebates, deliver programs. We help schools get competitive grants sometimes to redo their HVAC systems, their heating and cooling systems, make it better for our children in the schools, get solar and storage on fire departments so that they can operate during emergencies. And of course, there's the Redwood Coast Airport microgrid, which we're very proud of, which I just received some more prizes throughout the state. Everyone throughout the state and the world really looks to this as an innovative project that during the past earthquake that we just had here kept the power going for the airport, for the Coast Guard Air Station, and of course the animal shelter. Got to keep those puppies and kittens warm and safe too. But it's ways that we're trying to improve our resilience for the county while being greener and saving money and keeping our energy dollars local. So I like to see it as win, 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 win.
A naive question. Where do you get the electricity from?
We get it from a number of sources. As we started, we had to just go out and buy it on the open market. There's
Where do people go out and buy electricity? Who are you purchasing electricity from?
It's a complicated thing, and as I said at the outset, I'm the demand side management, so those people who buy electricity, that's all voodoo to me, but not really. And so there's the open market for electricity, and then there's also projects that an organization such as RCEA can enter into what's called a power purchase agreement. And so there's a project built. And so, for example, some of the electricity comes from the Redwood Coast microgrid, from the solar there. There's some other projects throughout the state, and even some out of the state that we have contracts with that we're getting clean, renewable energy from. There's the biomass plant in Scotia that we have a power purchase agreement with, and so that's local energy being produced here. And then, of course, what a lot of people in the county are real excited about is the possibility for offshore wind.
That's a long way off, though, right?
It depends on what you think is a long way. It's, I don't know how old you are, but it's a fraction of our lifetime. It'll be here before we know it. Years speed up. We've been working hard on it to make this a reality. Humboldt County is the possibility to be really the center for the West Coast offshore wind industry in many ways, but we would enter into a power purchase agreement with that and get some of that clean, renewable energy, here in Humboldt County. And we're a part of a consortium of a number of agencies trying to make sure that as this new industry is built out, that as much of that benefit stays local as possible. And that's.
However, I would think in a project of that size, enormity, that they would produce more energy than the county would use. I mean, would the county become an exporter of energy in that case?
Very much so, yes. It would be, the county would be using a fraction of what that would be producing. And so that's one of the big challenges right now that's being addressed is how do you get that energy out of the county? The transmission lines that were built were never built with the idea of exporting energy out of Humboldt County.
Only importing?
Only importing, and only enough to run the industry and the people who lived here. And as you and I know, Humboldt County is growing and industries are growing. And so there's going to need to be a large investment from the state and from private companies in order to improve that those transmission grids. And what we're working on is making sure that as those improvements are made, that improves the energy access for people in Humboldt County as well. We're seeing a bit of a crisis in parts of southern Humboldt and other parts of the county where the grid is just not keeping up with the development, and these things need to be improved.
People are moving into southern Humboldt so quickly, they're exceeding the infrastructure for energy? Or
existing people, our industry is growing, energy uses are growing, and the grid does not necessarily have the capacity to add on additional load. And, I'd say one of our things that we always keep in mind, and that's our biggest goal, is we're in a climate crisis right now. And so almost above all else, or at least on par with everything else, we're trying to address the carbon that we're putting into the atmosphere in this climate crisis. And one of the best ways to do that is moving off of fossil fuels towards electrification. If we can have clean sources of renewable electricity and then move a lot of our industry, our transportation, and home energy use to electricity, that's going to have a huge impact on the amount of carbon that we're putting into the environment. But the challenge with that is, as a lot of people know, as we're moving towards electrification, the transmission grid needs to be able to support it. And it wasn't built with that in mind. It wasn't built with the idea that we're all going to be driving electric cars. It wasn't built with the idea that heating and cooling is all going to happen with electricity. And so these things need to grow together. And that's one of the things and challenges that we're working closely with other rural parts of the county. I mean, with other rural parts of the state.
Is the demand far ahead of, the ability to meet that demand right now?
It's approaching that, and we've seen that in past years with some of the brownouts that we have during the heat events throughout the state, which is sometimes interesting. We're not here on the coast. We might not be experiencing a high heat event, but we're suffering from it because everywhere else is turning on their air conditioners. But this past year, we didn't have the brownouts as much and the blackouts that we've had in other years, even though we had higher temperatures than ever and record-setting temperatures. And that's because some of the resilience work that was done in putting in storage, the management of the grid to make sure the electricity was where it needs to be when it needs to be there. And so there are ways to overcome it, and there's technological solutions to these issues and getting us onto a greener future, and those are the things we need to promote.
Does the local organization go ahead and manage the grid, or is that managed at a state level?
That's managed at a state level and through PG&E, but we definitely are a stakeholder in voicing our concerns, being a voice for Humboldt County, and looking at ways that the grid can be improved and upgraded for the future.
Do other counties have organizations like this?
Some do, some don't. CCAs, community choice aggregators, are becoming more popular. I wish I could tell you how many there are in the state, but I don't know that. But there's a number of partner organizations such as us that we're working with. And then on my side of the house, on the demand side, there's a number of other organizations that do these customer programs, but it's very rare. We're a bit of a unicorn here in that we do both, that we're the CCA procuring the electricity, and that we also do a lot of these programs. And we're partnering. One of the things I'm very excited about is we're partnering with other organizations throughout the state to develop a new type of organization that's called a Regional Energy Network. And this is going to be called the Rural Regional Energy Network, to serve rural counties throughout the whole state. This entire program is going to be managed up here in Humboldt County.
Oh, really?
To deliver energy efficiency and electrification programs to rural areas throughout the state, and to really advocate for rural needs. A lot of what happens is focused on the more metropolitan areas, and a lot of our rural areas, this is where the energy extraction happens or energy development happens, but we haven't been getting as much of the resources on the energy efficiency or the dollars going into our grid and into our infrastructure. And so we're really advocating for rural California in that.
Why was Humboldt County chosen to be the location of the center?
And who would have been better?
Well, I'm asking. Tell me why they couldn't have made a better choice.
It's Humboldt's really unique throughout the county, and as we do things through the state, I should say, not county.
It is unique through the county.
It's unique through the county too. Humboldt's an island unto itself, but we have a lot of capacity here. We have a lot of very dedicated people. Cal Poly. Humboldt is a great institution with the Schatz Energy Research Center, bringing out great energy engineers and other professionals. And the work that we did with the microgrid, which was really innovative, the work that we've done with some of our tribes, the microgrid that was developed at the Blue Lake Rancheria.
We had the Blue Lake Rancheria on talking about the microgrid on one of the shows earlier in our sequence. So I've heard about that, and that the amazing thing about that is that microgrid was able to power gas stations, let's say their gas station there when the earthquake happened and things were shutting down and the power was out. They were running at full power, and it really showed what a benefit it could be, especially in a disaster situation, to have that energy there.
Yeah, especially during the first PPS, the power shutoffs, the planned power shutoffs that PG&E did for fire protection. That microgrid provided a great service. And prior to working at RCEA, I'm at my 3-year anniversary at RCEA. I worked at the Blue Lake Rancheria.
Oh, so fantastic.
I was out there in those power shutoffs, directing traffic at the gas station, helping people come in and get ice and fuel for generators.
But it's a graphic example of the benefits of having the grid, right?
And then just in this past earthquake, some southern parts of our county really suffered from that. But a project that we had completed in partnership with the city of Rio Dell to put solar and battery storage on their city hall meant that their city hall stayed up and operating throughout it and was able to be a center for providing food and resources and device charging for their citizens.
And they were the hardest hit communities.
They were very much the hardest hit community. And so that's, we have a lot of communities that it would take very little to completely isolate some of our communities, and especially some of our tribal communities in the eastern part of the county. And so we're working closely to try and develop solutions for that. And so, like you said, our breadth goes from, the person who wants to put in a more efficient refrigerator in their house or try out induction cooking for a stove to major multi-million-dollar projects that are going on schools or fire stations.
Well, let's talk about the people. At my house, I probably should have a better heating system and, whatever else appliance-wise I could be more efficient with. How do I go about connecting with the agency or finding out what the agency can do to help me as an individual?
We tried to make it really simple. Whether we succeeded or not, people can tell us. But what we always hear is there's so much red tape, make it really simple. And so if you go to our website right near the beginning of it, and pretty much as many places as we could put it, there's something called the customer interest form. Doesn't matter what type of customer you are, whether you're a large corporation or an individual, you can fill out that one-page customer interest form. And one of our energy technicians will get in touch with you, let you know what sort of services can work for you. We also have rebates listed on our rebates page, but we really try and work individually with people. We offer...
One thing you just said that really struck me. I don't know what needs to be better. I know what I have in the house, but... So when you say you work with an individual, I could come in and I could talk to somebody, or I could fill out the form and I could come in and I could talk to somebody, and then I could kind of be told individually what might be best for my own home?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we do it mostly over the phone, where someone will give you a call and do a consultation with you, see what your interests are and needs, and we can help guide you in what are some of the first steps that you can take and point you towards rebates and programs that would help. A lot of people are very excited about heat pumps these days. People are talking about
I was reading about heat pumps as opposed to to make the water heater more efficient.
Well, they work in a variety of ways. They can work with water heaters, but also space heating is where they're really popular. And it's really a system that's not, it's not new. A heat pump, basically all of us have a heat pump in our home already. It's called a refrigerator. It takes And what it's doing is kind of funny to think about. It's taking the heat out of the inside of the refrigerator and dumping it out the back. That's why the coils are warm. And so a heat pump is basically working that in reverse. It's taking heat from outside, even if it's 20 degrees outside, it can find what little heat is there, takes it from outside and puts it inside the house through the magic of thermodynamics. But using a coolant and compressing a coolant and expanding a coolant, but it's essentially moving heat, and that's why it's more efficient than something that's burning a fuel to create heat. Plus, a lot more clean if the electricity that it's using is coming from a clean source of generation.
Fantastic. Now, what are the culprits, so to speak, as far as energy consumption in a normal house?
Heating and cooling, in most of the county, but not all of it. Cooling's not as big a load, but as everywhere up and down the North Coast, we're starting to see like hotter and hotter days in the summer, so cooling might become a bigger load. Transportation is one of the biggest loads. So moving towards alternative means of transportation.
How the increase in a number of electric vehicles, it must be, exponential right now. And
I got my first electric vehicle
You
this
did?
year. Yeah, it took me a little while to finally do it, but I did. I really love it. And yeah, they have been increasing. They're, just much higher quality now. They drive great. They're quiet, and they're getting longer ranges. So yeah, there's an increase in electric vehicles. We have a transportation department at RCEA that offer rebates for EV charging. I think the vehicle rebate might currently be on hold, but might be starting up again soon. And we're also, last year we did an extremely popular e-bike rebate, and so we're going to be doing that again this year as well.
now, is rebates, the easiest way to get people on board with energy saving? I mean, having them see that there's savings, financial savings in it, make them more aware of their energy usage?
It can be. It's a way of nudging people in the right direction sometimes, and it's the way we try and design rebates is to cover that incremental cost. And so, if you were to buy just an inefficient appliance, or are you going to buy the most efficient appliance? And if we can, with the rebate, cover that spread, you might as well buy the most efficient and save money.
Right.
And so that's part of it. But some things are becoming more and more just cost effective in themselves. And we can still, with lighting, for example, switching to LED lighting, we're not offering direct rebates for LED lighting anymore. We can point people in the direction of other statewide programs or financing. But, upgrading lighting has such a quick payback for a business. If you have parking lot lights or anything like that, you almost don't need a rebate to do it. It doesn't make financial sense not to do it. You'll be saving money after the first year or two. Mm-hmm. And so some things, as the technology matures, there's not always as much need for a rebate, but we still want to encourage it as much as possible. Outreach and education, doing events. We try and, during the pandemic, our events and public events slowed down a little bit more, but now we're trying to get out in the public. We should have a table out there. 4th of July and other events around there.
Well, your organization has a lot of events as well.
We try and hold as many events as we can and get out there and join in on other events that are going on. And right now it's like a cyclical thing. Every couple of years we have events where we go out into the public to ask them, what do you want from your energy provider? We call that Humboldt's Electric Future. And what's most important to you? Is it keeping energy dollars local? Is it making sure that we're buying all renewables? Is it making sure that the rates are as cheap as possible? Because sometimes these are trade-offs.
Or can they put D, all of the above?
All of the above. I want less expensive more dollars back to me and as green as possible. And I tell you, that's our goal as well. Sometimes there has to be trade-offs in life, but
it sounds like you're moving that way all the time.
We are, and that's one of the things we like to say. Our executive director, Matthew Marshall, has said, this is an organization that keeps our energy dollars local, provides services to area schools and fire stations, provides you rebates, and you know what you pay for it? Less than you would be if you were actually just on the regular investor-owned utility bill.
Well, that's the perfect way to end our discussion today with that statement right there. I want to thank Stephen Kullman, Demand Side Management Director of the Redwood Coast Energy Authority. Thank you for being the guest here today.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
And we want to say we'll see you next time on Community Voices.
Thanks for joining us on Community Voices. If you represent a nonprofit that is interested in being a guest on Community Voices, email info@accesshumboldt.net. Access Humboldt, local voices through community media.